I think the answer would be my ridiculously specialized rappel device, which is useful only for rappelling on a single strand and occupies an entire specialized carabiner for this. And I think I only managed to use it once when I forget what I was doing, but it like had to be rigged just to use that stupid rappel device. I don't even remember why I paid for it.
What was it?
It's a Petzl Piranha.
Oh yeah, the little tiny.
No, it's this kind of oblong, multi-horn
It
thing.
looks like a figure eight with a hook on it.
Several hooks, yeah.
Let's see.
I bought a sling.
And who are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm Carol Clayton, and we don't have to do positions, right? And I went on Amazon in the first flush of I love climbing, and thought slings they'd be good. So I bought an 8-inch sling. P.S. Good for nothing. Have never literally never used it, so I know it violates your rule. But I also bought a 12-inch sling, which is right pretty, and someone did use that to build one anchor one time. Because it was just that one situation.
All right.
I start carrying them.
My name is Marty, and I got a lot of gear here. The one thing I used, I don't know, maybe more than once, but when I didn't know any better, I bought a daisy chain to, clip in, not knowing that daisy loops are not rated much more than body weight. And then now I just use it to hang gear on.
Oh, so it's good. So use it all.
No, I mean, in the garage. It just hangs and I just clip things.
All right.
My name is John. In let's see, 78 or something like that, I bought a rope. And it's a realization of ultimate reality piton. It's basically a razor blade with a hole in it. And I used it just to show that it could be used.
And Dave, I guess, used less gear. His climbing shoes, haven't climbed in 10 years. I'm so not doing a whole lot of rock climbing these days.
What size are you?
So, let's see, I remember they're very uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're EVs probably.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Leslie. I'm going to go with a climbing adjacent piece of gear here. I bought a foam sleeving pad. And I'm pretty
some approach shoes without trying them first. Oh boy. So then I used them a couple of times and they don't fit.
Now they're part of the library, right?
My name is George. Probably similar to pro shoes. My first couple times climbing, I bought pair of shoes. Realizing one of the better pairs. So I got a pair of 12, 5, 10s. Used once.
a
Oh,
state
man.
of just awed wonder at what was going on.
This sounds like a good experiment. Everyone go to REI and say you want to set up cover. What they give you.
And
Then I
to the
talked to a few
manager.
people before I got the cover set up, which was static wire.
Yeah, we went to Earth Tracks. We just bought it there 'cause we had a discount, right? And the people at the climbing gym, unsurprisingly, no, they're talking about
No way! Who'd have thunk?
Some of them do.
Okay, very good. I guess Carol's arguing with people at Domino's. So why don't I don't want to, it'll take whatever it takes. If you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started.
Sure.
And we'll interrupt you if we have to.
That's fine.
But let's go ahead. So, if you would, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us
Sure.
give a quick précis of your trip, and then let's do the show.
Well, I'll introduce myself first. I'm Lindsay again. I did not bring the useless plate or the useless fork to Iceland. While we were there, we did a number of things, but we'll focus mostly on the rock climbing and the time we spent on glacier.
Hi, my name is Jaime. This was the fourth time that I went to Iceland. I've been there in the summer, in the winter, driving, hiking, doing all kind of stuff. So if you are planning to go there and do some outdoors and you want some information, just please feel free to contact me. We are going to talk about rock climbing and ascent we did to one of the mountains there. So let's start. Iceland is an island in the North Atlantic Ocean. Almost in the north side is considered already the Arctic Ocean, so it's a really cool place, literally, where it may get very cold in the winter. In the summer, it's just nice and cool. As you can see, 10% of the country of the island is covered by this huge glacier. It's one of the biggest glaciers in Europe, if you can consider that Europe. It's called the Vatnajökull Pool. It has another 3 big glaciers here and there. Here is where there is this volcano which is called the Vatnajökull which erupted in 2011 and caused these horrible air traffic problems in North Europe with hundreds of cancelled flights. And the capital is here in Reykjavik. It's a place which is famous for its bad weather, but the legend is that the Vikings got there in the year 1000, and following their tradition, they just throw, I think, a log or an ore on the water, and then the gods were supposed to direct the ore to the place where they should found the capital. So they arrive in the south, where this is nice, sunny, and good place for agriculture. But they throw the ore, and the ore started drifting with the sea, and then it came up here in a place which is cold and usually cloudy and rocky, with not many places to grow crops. But that's where the ore went ashore, and because that was the tradition, we had to live with that.
So it's selling Iceland here.
Yeah.
And that's called Mount Theodore because
I'm
that's
basically
where
telling you, if you go to Iceland, you can spend one morning in Reykjavik and then go away.
All right.
You can see
Nice
the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Well, a third of the island population is there, at least, maybe half by now.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the island is nice and empty.
Yeah, Iceland has around, I think, let me check it, 600,000 inhabitants. Half of those live in Reykjavik, the rest are spread on all that big land of terrain. And basically here in the middle there is nothing, just some very wild
Lots of
places that
good
you
mountains and rocks. And
Yeah.
nice.
You really need a big car to go there, but if you can get it and you can afford paying for a big 4-wheel drive car to get into the middle, it's an amazing place. So, logistics. What do you have to think if you go to Iceland? First, when to go? I have a more complex plot here if you really like this kind of climogram plots, and a simpler one here. So,
Climbing ground?
blue one, I don't know, in Spanish called climograma, I just made that. So, the blue thing is rain. There is rain all year round, but if you go around June and July,
There's less
especially,
rain.
it's less in May and June, and then July, and then in August it starts raining a bit more. What about temperatures? Same, highest temperatures are in July. So, if you want to be outdoors, go in July. There is a second good reason to go in end of June, beginning of July, that you have, I can see from here, but it's around 22 hours of daylight. So basically you don't have to worry about getting stuck in the mountain and getting dark. You are going to have light the whole day. There is another statistic here which is about days with a bit of rain. Also, it's lowest in June, July. August is also a good time to go. It starts to get a bit colder towards the end of the season. But I would say, I think in August too, I think I have, my feeling is that the weather in July is normally a bit more stable than in August, but August is also good. And once you enter in September, things get windier, colder, and more humid.
Yeah.
What else? How to get there and move around? There is only one international airport in Iceland, which is here, in Keflavik. They pronounce it Keflavik, I think. It's like 30-40 minutes away from the capital, from Reykjavik. So you will get there by plane. Now there is flights from all over, like Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, many airlines. It's become like very trendy in the last 2 or 3 years. You get to Keflavik, it used to be a super tiny airport. Now it's a huge international airport with flights 24 hours. So you can get there. There is buses connecting that the airport with the capital also 24 hours. It's not a problem. And the place where we went climbing and mountaineering is here in the southeast corner of the country. It's near a national park called Skafafell. It's a really beautiful place. It normally has good weather. That's why many people go there in the summer. How to move around? Buses or cars? Actually, you can move around Iceland quite good using public transportation. There is these two companies that are the touristic ones, and they stop at the touristic places and tell you little stories. There is this one, which is the one. What is that?
Especially if you get them on their sagas.
The one with the S is the public bus company that locals use. They don't give you little touristic explanations, but they can stop you at any place. If you want to stop, just for instance, to go climbing at this little dirt road, just to walk from there, they would do it. And it's slightly cheaper. It's not very different in prices. So I would just check everything and get the one whose schedules work better for you. Option B, renting a car. 3 kinds of cars, like tiny car, SUV car, and big 4-wheel drive car. If you just want to drive, I forgot telling before, there is a big this road. There used to be only one paved road in Iceland, which is the ring road, road number 1 that goes all around. Everything else is dirt roads or gravel roads. Now there is more paved roads, specifically in the touristic area, so you can use those with a small car. If you want to go into gravel roads and a bit more rough things, you should get an SUV. If you want to go to the interior where the wild things are, you really need a 4-wheel drive car, which is very, very expensive. Gas is also very expensive there. There are 2 kinds of rental car companies. These 2 ones on the top are companies that are offering very cheap prices, cheap in comparison with the other ones. Maybe half the price of a regular company. They are renting really, really crappy cars. They are basically breaking apart. I've rented with those 2 occasions. The first time, the exhaustion broke in the middle of the road. We were very lucky. It was before Iceland was so touristic, so people used to be very friendly with foreigners. The car company called like a person who fixed the car. The person came to us to his workshop. He fixed the car in a matter of half an hour. It was amazing. But anyway, the car was seriously crappy. The second time we decided to go with the cheap cars again because they are cheap, so why not? So the last day of our trip, it was manual.
Manual
Manual
transmission.
Yeah, the last day in the morning, we were planning to go to a place to explore some lava caves, but the car broke. Basically, the manual transmission broke in the middle of, hopefully, at least it wasn't in the middle of nowhere, it was in a nice place. And I don't know if it's because that company is worse or because now things are more touristic and they don't care about being nice to tourism anymore because they don't need to. It basically took them 5 hours to get somebody to pick us up with a
Tow
truck.
tow truck.
They swapped out the car.
Yeah, so basically we missed the whole day. But still, if you are willing to risk that, you will save half the money that it would cost you to rent a car with a serious company. That's the one we use a different time in the winter and everything.
What's the exchange rate now?
Yeah.
What's the exchange rate now? Or do you know how much did it cost for?
Yeah, let me see.
It's about up the region 1 in October.
Yeah, it used to be like 150 per
Yeah, it
euro.
is really
so-
named Ragnar.
That just seems like trick and
Literally the name,
advertising
we
to
did not
me.
make that up.
That's like, yeah, what's happening?
I think it's probably double the price you would pay for a car here.
About a short break and everybody grab pizza.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see pepperoni, veggie, cheese, and ham and pineapple.
General Motors car market in South America, and the name in South America, London perfection. So it pays to
Know the language.
know the line. SAD has got to stand for something besides.
Or that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
You didn't like, so,
AMD.
wait, go with the blue moon, it's got a twist on it. Why, I go for it. Wait, oh, hey. Bottles these days. Technology. Yeah, so the sign up class,
Well,
you
they
say
didn't quite,
double
because
labs
they should
for
have
the
not
metal shop
capitalized ARS.
is make a bottle.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Put some like
Or a crampon
punctuation
space.
there.
So,
I
can
started
I
to say
expect
that
that
you're going to be donating those to the Christmas party next year?
No, I'll tell you
I
what
could.
they do.
They won't be as nice as my pens.
Nothing is as nice as that.
I was thinking about donating a couple of pens.
15, 20 years.
Well, you would find it extremely different.
PATC, like,
To try.
I have to admit, the last time I was there, it was very different from the first time.
Yeah.
Last time I went, for the first time, it was really 6 years different. It's changing so quickly.
Well,
We try the same Taylor.
no,
What's that?
Costco.
I went there,
Costco is
on
magic.
NATO.
I know, I bought a soft shell jacket from the meeting.
First night I got there,
20
I
bucks.
picked up the newspaper and saw an
That's how I
announcement
feel.
for
Dave Johnson wants me relentlessly.
I went to the
It's like,
meeting and
is everything
went out the next morning with them.
Like,
We were
yes,
shouting up and
everything.
down.
The
As
jacket,
soon as I familiar about it,
actually not the shirt, the jeans and the boots.
Nice.
did some really
The only
nice
things that are mine are the underwear.
There was only
Recently,
one,
I've been wearing a lot of REI outfits.
recreational equipment store,
I
on
can
the
see
island.
that, I like it.
and that was, I
Especially 'cause I've been
used to
wearing my
remember the
high
name.
heels
It was
for a
right,
while.
just off.
What I tried the other day, actually.
Like, did
Ricky
you a dinner, did you?
And I
get to-
really got around.
Anyway, it was
Um,
an intersection of really,
I went to,
Circle Highway
Barnes and
and
Noble,
Road,
bought a couple of books, never got them. I read books, yeah.
They didn't have any,
It
they
was
had like
leather.
No.
two pairs of shoes,
And then I went across to that,
So,
White
running
Wine
around
Beach
and
Brewery.
It puts my heels
they had beer and, some appetizers. So yes,
and we did that for like 15 years until it became, you know, with-
Oh, yes, that's why I'm not wearing those. That's why I'm wearing my hiking boots.
It's always good.
Now they have like this
Although now I'm gonna need
biggest
to replace
four-wheel drive.
well, the rest of the team had, you know, utility, you know, the snorkel and everything.
I hate shopping.
It's actually great.
It's the
That was
worst.
something to drive through a river and have the water here on the windshield.
So like 70s, they already have it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole thing where, you
Yeah,
know.
they've always been a fairly modern country. In fact,
Yeah.
remarkably so, I think.
Shopping is the
But,
worst.
there's
Over diagonal section.
I didn't
let's
even
see, Fred and I
show them.
went camping, and we rented a mid-sized sedan. And that was fine for everywhere we went to.
I tried out the thin
It
crispy
wasn't a big
crust
one.
cheese.
The roads then were dirt.
It's crunchy.
Is it now?
Yeah.
As advertised?
As
We were going for hiking, so we could have hiked out from any place. No pizza.
That's all kinds of hair-braided.
Oh, good. Yeah. So one of them is,
Where did Maddie go? He went to go.
what you tried to do.
Until it was written.
So there's the grandfather mountain version. Can't go. Finding not too far away. It's a trip.
On these trips, did you guys do the courtesy thing?
And then I was like,
Dave, what's your favorite?
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we were there for 2 weeks, so we did,
what about it?
the first week we did, like,
Look at just was there.
And then I could go to the island
and then did like,
Which is
on the mountain, like one day, it was climbing one day.
And it's where the,
Yeah.
it's where
That's awesome.
That's reasonable.
You know, days are really long. It was
For
like, oh,
fitness,
we put a lot in there.
For general overall
And
fitness,
then
I
the
think
second
that's
week,
probably
we
far
went
better.
actually play in islands. I also keep having these like, hair-braided hairs, like,
Yeah.
on the side.
The backpack is
They're gonna
good.
take it?
You just went
I'm not there
between
yet, but
two
actually starting to have these.
It was really nice. So, pretty popular. All the goes through like the,
Well,
When it was
the
coming.
little thing is located
That's-
active.
So you do a lot of driving, I
Like
guess.
it goes through like all these rural villages,
Pulling
It's
If you are going
um,
very long days, you can do it every day.
it's really cute, tiny man who climbs through, just like the Alex Honnold here.
Super long days.
Okay, let's do it. Let's keep. Go ahead. Take it away.
Let's get momentum back.
So, how to move around? You decide how much you want to spend and you get it. And this is basically what we did. We arrived in the airport, we took the bus to the capital, to Reykjavik. We met there some friends from Spain. And then we rented one of these tiny crappy cars and drove all around the south. We actually stopped along the way to see something. There is beautiful waterfalls and glaciers. There's a tiny island there where you can go take a ferry and enjoy the puffins and all the birds. And in the end, we go to the area of the Vatnajökull, the Skagafjell National Park, and there we went to climb the mountain and to climb some rocks. So,
Can you add a break?
okay. By the way, so this area where there is the rock climbing and the mountain climbing is also two very interesting features. One is this national park or Skagafjell, plus quite like amazing glaciers, and you can also do like hiking or going without the need to get into for glaciers to just see the views. The other interesting thing that is very touristic is called the Pulsarlon. It's this glacier lagoon where the icebergs that break from the glacier float and then they go to the sea, and then you can go to the beach and see all these peaks of ice in different states of melting. It's really cool. So now let's go with the rock climbing.
Yeah. So the place where we went rock climbing is the biggest rock climbing area in Iceland. I'm probably going to destroy the name. Map of here.
Pronounce it just
Good
like
enough?
it's spelled.
Okay. All right. And so this is just a picture of kind of one of the areas of climbing.
Notice that's a volcanic core that sticks, just like
Yeah, it's all,
Table Mountain or some of those in the Midwest.
it's all basalt, and as I said, it's kind of the largest climbing area in Iceland. So there's 307 routes in 13 different sectors. The rock is basalt. It's mostly sport and boulder. There are some areas where you can do trad. So there's not multi-pitch, it's all one pitch. And there's a range of grades to keep everyone happy. And it's in southeast Iceland. It's between Skafjafell and Jökulsárlón. Now I'm going forward.
How did you find
Jökull
out
means
about the
glacier.
Try the wheel.
It's this is your, if you move the mouse all the way to the right, you're
Okay. So what I wanted to show you actually was the location. So you can see there on one side is Skafjafell and the other side is Jökulsárlón. So it's in between those areas.
Where did you get the information about the climbing?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Just I'll get to the next slide. And do you want to talk about that because you're the one who found the information? It's online, but it's mostly in Icelandic. So it can be really hard to find information about that. Maybe now it's getting better because I was in the bathroom at Earth Treks Crystal City and I saw a picture of Chris Sharma climbing there. So maybe now that it's been like climbing magazine, it'll be there. So there's a link here. We have it. You can get a PDF version of the guide for $5.
Is that a climbing guide or a route guide?
It's a route guide. And then sorry,
it's a climbing. It's a guide of the.
So step over 5 feet.
Yeah. And there's a hard copy. There's a shelter there. There's a shelter where there's like it's just a sheltered area where you can make dinner. Like there's a table. You can't stay in it.
Did you guys try taking the?
Yeah.
So that's how you.
Yeah, that's how I know. Yeah.
That's why it's in red.
Yep.
Lesson learned. Yep.
So don't take the hard copy out of the shelter. It does actually say that in the book, but if you don't open up to the part where it says that in the book, you don't know. So.
It's not yours, so what the heck?
Well, we were literally right outside the shelter. We were just looking at something. It's not like we were trying to see it.
You have the guide and you have have
But you need sunlight.
the photo, and then you want to see the cliffs and see
Yeah.
the root of the cliffs, but you can see that from the shelter. You have to go out.
And so there's the shelter here where you can like just have some break indoors, cook food. There's a huge camping area right nearby, and the caretakers of the area, they basically live there all summer, and they take really good care of all of the roots. When we were there, they were replacing some bolts. Everything is just like really tip-top shape. Like it's really quite amazing.
Where all the roots top bolted?
The ones that we saw were all what?
Top bolted?
Yeah.
And how far is this from the ring road?
It's not that far, but it's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, it will go like 2 miles, but on a third road, and you have to ask. And that's there is a
It
very
is well mapped.
there is
It's
a
good
wonderful, like, basically all the content of the book is in that website, which is in Icelandic, but I mean, to see the grades, and there is photos with the,
So here's kind of how to get there, and see the location. So it's about 4.5 hours from Reykjavik, and then about 60 miles from Skafafell. And it's hard to see. You can't really see it from the road, so you kind of have to know it's there. So here you're driving along the road, and the cliffs are kind of like under you, sort of. They're out and under you.
You're on top of the
So it just looks like you're looking at like a field, and you're like, where is this climbing route? So we actually turned in to this farm here you'll see on the left, and those horses didn't know where we were going. And
My
we
horse
were
knew where it was going.
we were coming out, and we ran into a farmer, and we asked him about it, and he told us where to go. So basically, you have to turn to the right, kind of down that road, and then it's like a dirt road that kind of goes along. And at some point, there's a river you have to drive over. There's lots of, if you take any non-paved roads in Iceland, you have to cross rivers eventually. And if you don't have a high enough car, you're not really going to be able to make it. Especially not if you're in one of those sad cars. No, there's like a little parking area, and so and there's a bridge you can go over, like walking bridge, like further up. So we just parked there, and we were gonna walk, and just carry our stuff because there were a bunch of us. So, but some people in a van came by and offered us a ride, so we all piled in there.
How far
Yeah,
is
it was a big van, and they were obviously going there to like camp.
How long is the walk from the parking area?
Well,
to
it's 2 miles, so.
Oh,
from the ring road is 2 miles. From the fort on the river to the cliffs is 0.2 to the closest.
Oh.
I think if you want to
the closest route.
to the closest route, if you want to go to the farther areas, then it's much longer. Yeah, you can.
And you
What kind of an flat approach?
Oh, it's flat. Yeah, it's all flat.
I'm liking this.
Yeah, it's real nice. I mean, you basically drive down, and it's like a field with some cliffs, and then another field. And the campground is really close, and it's like a wide open field. And I think
In fact, the road that goes from Reykjavik to the east coast is over farmland that has topsoil that's like 20 feet thick.
So here's kind of a satellite image of the sector, and you kind of see how big it is. And the fort is marked on there. So we really only went to the closest sector near this shelter, since we were on foot. And
Nitskjord?
yeah, that's the name of the sector. And so you can see sort of the campground on the top picture, and then the shelters on the bottom picture. Sort of like classic Iceland, half covered in sod shelter. So it's kind of cool. And so here are some of the routes in the sector that we were in from the PDF.
That's from the website.
Are those sport routes or trad routes?
They're all sport. There are some trad. I think that white one is trad.
Did you do mostly sport or did you?
So we only did sport.
only
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah. So the yellow are sport. The yellow are sport and the white are trad. Because you can see they follow the track lines.
And how tall are they?
60 to 70. I think some get as high as 100. But here it was more like, I don't know, 60.
Those were around 60. Yeah. It's not super high. And the highest one is 100.
And here you can see like it's busy but not real busy. I mean, there's a lot of places to climb here, and it's mostly a lot of locals, like a lot of Icelanders, and they are really friendly and kind of offer you suggestions on like what classic climbs to do, and so I don't know, we enjoyed that.
There's some bouldering there.
Yeah, there's some bouldering. And then there are other places to rock climb in Iceland too that we did not go to. But as you can see here from the number of routes, Napavilir is definitely like the biggest by far. So, and I'm not really sure like why they have one on there that has 0, but maybe it's a very short bouldering.
No, I mean, it's hard to say because it's in Icelandic, but they seem to be like a place that has good rock, but nobody has done a route or has like.
Nobody's
This
recorded.
place,
Nobody's named
this
it
place looks
yet.
good. Why don't you try and
So
put-
did you put up a route when you were there?
No, we didn't. We have too many things packed in limited time.
Yeah, and
How long did
another,
you spend there altogether?
we were there for 2 weeks, but we only climbed for 1 day. I mean, granted, it was an
okay.
Icelandic day, but
Right.
so we were climbing all
Oh
day.
my God.
Well, Grimsey, the island on the north coast, is on the Arctic Circle. So anywhere you can see the horizon near Grimsey, you can see the day with no sunset.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the complicated things about going to Iceland, if you're going to travel, like to go up mountains, on glaciers, and rock climbing, is if you take like cheaper flights, like WOW, like we took WOW, they really nickel and dime you, and they in Baltimore they even weighed your carry-on because they have like a limit for the weight and carry-on. They did not weigh it on the way back. And then I was going to talk about our.
Is
trip
WOW
up
the
mountain.
travel agent or the airline?
It's the airline.
Oh.
It's called WOW.
Yeah.
It's like purple.
Great
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, we're gonna charge
All I
you
ever
so
knew was
much.
I could
Wow, the fare is
You
so
have
cheap, only if you bring luggage and want a seat and.
Is that one of the airlines that weighs your carry-on?
Yeah, they weigh your
Yes.
carry-on, but
Yep.
they did it in Iceland.
Ah,
They did in Baltimore when
Just
we
in
left,
America.
but not in Iceland.
Some of that has always been weird, the regulations about it. I mean, at one point, if you stopped in Iceland, you had to pay extra, but a lot more than if you went all the way to Germany.
Well, now they're doing like these special deals where you can do like stopovers in Iceland. So you're going to Europe and like you just take one of the WOW or Iceland Air and they offer like the stopover, and so you're in Iceland for like 3 days or something. But it's like the same.
Actually, some of the companies, when you are in the plane, they already go to sell you the touristic packages and the touristic bus and things
the
like
Blue
that.
Lagoons.
Yeah, we didn't go there.
Yeah, they've modified that a lot too. When I was there, it was all wood shacks.
Anyway, so this is the mountain we climbed. It's called Krutfjellstindar. And it's this beautiful like volcano. It's a volcano under the glacier. It's on the edge of this giant Vatnajökull glacier. So actually, this big glacier is something that from some points of the island you can see like a white line in the horizon, and that's the glacier. But I had always wanted to actually get inside and see the endless white. And it took me 4 trips to Iceland to finally bring a group of people who wanted to go through all these like glaciers and things to get there. And this is seen from the area near Skaftafell, which is this national park with a beautiful camping that is basically at the core of all these activities that we did. So also this photo was taken in an unusually clear day. Normally there is clouds. Yeah, so it's not very high peak. Actually, the highest peak in Iceland is below 7,000 feet, but you start almost from sea level. It's a long day. It's 14 miles, so it takes the whole day to get there. But because there is no night, it's alright.
You can start at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You don't mind a 16-hour day?
Yeah, it's like an alpine star, but it's already daylight outside. It's not technical, but you require like it has glacier travel. It can have big crevasses, so you need to bring all the glacier gear and know how to use it. It starts at a parking lot, which is the glacier lagoon of this other glacier called Vinafellsjökull, which is I have a slide about that. I think it's 4 miles away from Skaftafell, so ideally you would drive there, but if you don't have a car, you can actually go and walk and camp at the base the night before. There is very nice camping at Skaftafell, and the weather is the critical factor. It can be very bad, so it's important to check the weather. And actually, this trip, we went there to Iceland. We wanted to do that. We wanted to climb, but there was not a plan. Like we knew we had 1 week for that, and we basically were planning based on the weather. And at some point, it's like, okay, tomorrow is supposed to be good, so let's drive 4 hours there to be ready tomorrow morning to climb the mountain. Yeah.
Did you guys camp for most of the trip?
We camp on the whole trip.
The whole
Yeah. It's a good place to camp if you don't. I mean, it can be very rainy.
Beautiful
But
countryside.
yeah, but if you are car camping, you always have dry place to go there and dry things. Camping is significantly cheaper than staying at hotels. Now there are more like bed and breakfast and places to stay, but first time I went 6 years ago, there were very little places to stay other than camping.
I would know it's a little bit shocking if you're an American used to camping, only because they charge per person, which we're not so familiar with here.
Actually, Princess Snowbird charges per person.
Who's that?
It's Seneca, Princess
Oh,
Snowbird
really?
charges.
Okay. Okay, so y'all be used to it.
I've never been to Princess Snowbird.
Well, almost any town
I
you
haven't,
go
I
to,
haven't been charged.
there used to be bed and breakfast in any town you stopped. You just asked for it, and they
Yeah.
2 or 3 houses there and one there. And they were usually fairly inexpensive too.
Yeah.
Very
Now,
nice
now in
meals.
the summertime, they turn schools into like hotels where
Oh,
they,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Tourism,
hostels
man.
and like that. So they're really happy to have their boost in economy.
Yeah,
from
except for much
tourism.
export, right?
Wool and dairy products.
Mhm.
What it used to be.
And
Now it's technology
And Bjork.
and bauxite.
Also, if you go camping, most campings have a closed area where you can cook or have some dinner or stay. So even if it's rainy, it's normally not very miserable.
I'm glad because I know who that is.
Yeah. of
All
course you
right.
do.
How to get there is basically next to the place that
Or swans.
we went
To the
climbing.
cabin.
So take the same road from Reykjavik for 4 hours, a little bit more. You get to this place called Skaftafell, and then you drive 3 miles on a paved road, and then it becomes dirt road. It's okay. Like our crappy cars made it with no problem. And basically you get to the base of the glacier, and the climbing route. Oh, okay, here. These are some views of the mountain.
It is. Oh, you just can't.
Basically, that's the mountain from, I think it's
Somewhere
from the
over.
campground, and on the right there is like a little red mark which points at the summit, and the route goes all along the ridge, which separates two glaciers, and then in the end you get to the level of the ice of the glacier, and then when you start doing the actual glacier part. So only a small fraction of it is on the glacier, but the previous part is really beautiful. If the day is clear, you have like 2 glaciers, one on each side, and you can see that big Serac ice fall on the right. It's really beautiful. It's the same with an aerial photo, so you get an idea of the kind of thing you have around when you go up. Also, there is no trail. There is some cairns at some point to mark the route, but it's not very.
You can walk wherever you want.
Until you get to the ice, it's not really very pleasant because first you have to go up the moraine, which is like loose rock. Then you get to this valley of moss, where moss is it's like walking on a sponge for a mile.
I've got pictures of my feet from the ankles up because you stand in the moss and your feet are covered.
Yeah,
up.
it's like that. And then you get in the ridge, and that's like when it gets really nice and beautiful. If you are, I guess if it's windy, it's maybe like hell, but if it's a good day like we've had, it's like wonderful. So you see there are some views along the way. This top view is the Valley of Moss, where you sing all the way to the lake.
Looks
And
nice
then
though.
you get to the ridge, and then you start having these views of the glaciers from both sides. It was quite cloudy early in the morning, but the weather forecast was promising like nicer weather later in the day, and actually it was like that.
That's that.
And that's once you get into the ice cap, you start having that view of the endless white ice cap to the north, which is one of the most amazing views I've ever seen. I don't know if it's very easy to see in the photo, but basically it's just a white surface of ice all the way to the horizon. So we don't have any photo from the summit.
No.
Well, so we made it to the summit.
You promised it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, we made it. The clouds open, and we had like quite nice view. Also, it's next to the highest peak in Iceland, which is Vanadalshnúkur, and that's the final slide. Like, why this peak and not the neighbor peak, which is called Panadol Snowcurrent is the highest peak in Iceland. Well, it's a bit
It's another
higher, that's
8,000
true.
meters.
It's like
1,000 meters.
between 700 and 800
feet.
feet higher, but I would say that's the only thing that makes that other peak more interesting. Actually, the one we climb is the fourth highest in Iceland, but the second and the third are literally in the middle of nowhere, so they don't count. Unless you have a mod to get there, or a very huge car that can drive on the ice.
The huge expensive car.
Both are a whole day. This one that we did is mostly along a ridge with these beautiful views of the glacier. The other one is most of the part is you walk up a quite flat ice plateau, glacier plateau. This has these views on both sides. The Panadol Snowcurrent only has views actually if you get to the summit.
Well, you're actually in a cirque of ridges.
Yeah.
So you're actually in an ice field, not a glacier. I mean, practically speaking,
that's
a big, huge ice field.
Yeah, and the other is like this Panadol Snowcurrent is like a conic volcano, but very not very steep. So most of the time you just have like a huge ice slope, very flat around. It has more glacier. The one we did only has glacier in the last section. But another technical thing is that the one we climb has crevasses near the summit, but crevasses are normally passable until quite late in the season. If you want to do the main summit, then it has another secondary summits that are really beautiful from a mountaineering perspective because they are like really sharp and toned. But there's room around those summits becomes unpassable very early in the season. So basically, unless you go very early, you're going to climb to the main summit, which is more flat. In the other mountain, the highest one has a problem, is that it has a very fairly serious bergrum, and depending on the year, it may become now, like, I guess some years ago it was different, but now some years it becomes impassable in even early June. So if you go later in the season, it's normally very hard to go through it. And that's what basically, there is some guiding groups that go to the highest peak in Iceland in the beginning of the season because it's like the highest mountain in Iceland. And then once it becomes impassable, they go to this other mountain, which in their website they acknowledge that it's harder and more difficult. But
Is it difficult because of the berggrund, or?
No, the other is Panadol Snowcurrent. The only difficulty is the bergrum. The rest is it's actually easier than this because once you are in the glacier, it's quite
If the
flat.
ice is falling apart, then yes.
Yeah. This one has more route finding. You have to go through all these moss parts, and I find it a bit more challenging. And definitely, I think the views are better. Because the other one, you get the good views if you get to the summit, but if you can't pass the bergrum, then you're
just looking up the
you
rocks.
miss. Yeah, you're looking up.
Yeah, I've been up to the highest one. It's real easy.
Yeah.
You can see the bricks.
When were you there?
Depends on your approach. You go back.
3 years ago.
If you go back to the map, you can see.
Yeah, it's
No, the map. Yeah. There you go.
I chose not
So
to
it's
put a
up to
photo
the
of the
right?
summit because I wanted to put a photo of that new pool.
which is probably a better choice.
I have them on my phone.
Well,
Yeah, so it's, the highest peak is basically, you see the photo on the right down corner, it's like the lower part of the glacier where it means like it's cone. The middle, the point where the two different photos are, two different area photos go together, there's like a dashed line.
Yeah.
There, right there, yeah.
That's it.
So it's like fairly easy, long slope until you get there. All right, I think this is all, right? Yep.
Okay.
Nice. Did you like it overall? I mean, would you say go? It's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah, I would have climbed for days and days
Really?
over at the rock climbing route. Yeah. And for me, this was my first time on a glacier. And despite the approach, I mean, I'm a strong hiker, so that was okay. It was, I think it's a good introduction if you're with someone who knows what they're doing because it's real mild.
Were
Like
you?
the crevices aren't really, I was the crevices were mild, not very scary, and it's not real steep. It's not like a mountain
Did you have to?
where you feel like you're gonna slide right off of it or something.
What? Did you have to rope up or?
Yeah, we did for the glacier.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the crevasses are not very scary doesn't mean that there are crevasses there.
Well, you've been there a number of times. You're going again.
You're
You've been
going
there
again?
several times. You're going to go again.
No, after doing this, I feel like I feel in peace with Iceland. Also, I find it more and more touristy every time I go, and I feel a bit sad about that.
Okay.
I would go back definitely if I had the time to try to cross the whole Banana Plateau.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of rock climbing areas, and a lot of them are really easy to get to. There are several of them right near Reykjavik, 30, 40 minutes
Yeah,
away.
that's right.
I would go back for climbing because I love basalt. I started climbing just, I don't know, a year before we went there.
Have you
And
guys,
I had only climbed at Carter Rock outside, and when I went, it was just the first time I climbed on anything other than Carter Rock. So I was like, this is the most awesome thing ever!
Do you think you were Spider-Man to the rock?
did you guys climb at Ghoul Falls?
No, we didn't. Is that
Did you go to Ghoul Falls?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's isothermal columns, and there's wonderful crack climbs that are like this, all 80 feet up, just straight up. There's water below you, so you have to top rope it. But you fell down and climb up. There's something called the prow, where you're actually crack climbing sort of upside down all the way up.
Last
It's
thing,
very
would you
graceful.
guys like to make any comment about your planned expedition this year?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I wanna.
So, a little bit in the same line of crossing Banana or doing something crazy like that. Our plan for this winter or fall is going down to Patagonia to Los Glaciares National Park, where it's Altenis and the Fitzroy and Cerro Torre and all those famous mountains. I was there a few years ago just doing hiking and backpacking in the touristic part of it, but I've always wanted to go to the other side, like getting to the South Patagonian ice field, which is the ice field that feeds the Perito Moreno Glacier and all those famous glaciers there. So what we want to try is to cross into the ice field and then walk for, I think, the total thing is around 7 days, I think. We are actually on the ice field for 3 or 4 days. We will traverse in front of the east side of Cerro Torre, which actually now, after they remove the bolts from the compressor line, that has become the main route.
What did they do?
They remove the bolts of there used to be this bolted way up to Cerro Torre.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, that was a few years ago. How much?
Yeah.
4, 3, 4, something like that. So they remove that, and after they remove that, it comes out that the easiest way is from behind. So it seems that now it's become, I mean, not more crowded, but more people are going there because that's now the normal route to Cerro Torre. And then we will keep going to close the circuit and then go back to El Chaltén from the north. So yeah, main challenges will be the weather. The weather, they can be quite bad in terms of wind and temperature. We may have to.
When are you doing this?
We were thinking of November.
So can we put you on the schedule for another presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll have to be
we
soon.
have to.
Remember, this is an expedition.
Just,
right?
right,
Yeah.
this is your expedition.
Yeah.
Yay.
So
And
that's the
let's
plan.
hope that let's hope that it's not like the Alaska show. As well, here we are in tent day
Exactly.
1, tent day 2, tent day 3.
Yeah.
One of us is dead, we're eating him.
Another
Day
thing to keep
6.
in mind is the glaciers are disappearing in South America
Yeah.
Right.
very rapidly.
Yeah, it's a feel of rush. If you want to do these things, it's like you have to do them now. Yeah. Also, there are still glaciers, but getting to them is getting harder because the ice is retreating. So you have to go through very unstable terrain.
That don't exist anymore.
Yeah. So we will also try to climb a glacier-covered mountain there, but if everything works, we will try to do this circular loop, and when we are on the ice field, climb a mountain. If the weather is not so good, we will have to decide just going for the mountain or going from the circular traverse, or just staying for 10 days in a tent. Hopefully
Okay.
not.
Thank you all again. Thank you all very much. Let's take a short break. Let's keep it to 5 minutes. At a quarter after, we'll start and we'll have the primary business meeting. Okay, and the main thing we're going to do at this meeting is we're going to talk about the calendar. I just want to go over the upcoming calendar events, plus the usual. So, see you in a couple minutes.
And if you leave and you've had pizza, please donate if you would. Give generously.
Also, if you want to see a picture of the summit of the mountain, I can find it on my phone.
I do.
All right. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
You know why there's nobody doing this? Nobody
Because
else?
it's Valentine's Day.
Oh,
We're-
that's
we're
right.
here-
Ah, so
here
the question-
eating
the
sad
question was
pizza
actually
and
moot.
warm beer. What does that say about us?
The question was moot.
Listen, I had tacos and a drink with my boyfriend before I came here.
I decided to do a presentation on Iceland with mine, so.
Yeah, I couldn't
All
convince him to come. I was like, come on, it's Iceland, it'll be awesome.
Right.
Wow.
That's in British Columbia, yeah, Utah, and then
Fault line.
British Columbia was much better than I was in Revelstoke, resort skiing.
You really do
down
need to
in
do
Vermont,
ASW next year.
which is
There were several attempts
probably 75
And if you're
miles
lucky,
south of
won't rain the whole time.
I know, right?
Yeah. Which
Tennessee.
happened 2 out of the 3 years I've been, so.
Maybe Sylvan's that luck.
So you're not great.
They're having a great year.
What?
Utah.
ASW?
Oh, yeah, it was really rainy.
Yeah.
I think
That's just the worst. Like, I couldn't dry out at all.
Yeah, you've had, you know.
Like, my
the
mid
jet
layer and
ski
base layer were just wet.
way more
Oh.
this year.
And then you were clammy when you got into your tent.
Yeah. And then that's when we decided the next day, we're like, okay, everybody's wet. We have to go back
Warm
down
and
and dry
dry,
out.
the Rockies, and
It was a good decision.
I think so, yeah.
really cold in the east. Cold and
'Cause
snowy.
I think like half of us would have just been frozen that night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's.
it would have been like terrible.
And
Okay, new ice
But
climbers, you guys are
I've
running
been
this.
very involved
There's a
in
big
the
argument about
kayak.
that.
Mine's very solid, it's just like
I don't mind.
PATC.
Give you guys admin access, because you guys are running ice climbing, right?
Yes. Well, do you know if somebody signed up?
Not yet, but we haven't, have we?
Yeah,
announced
dry
it?
splash, dry.
Yes, in the blog.
Wetsuit.
Oh, we have announced it.
And a
I
winter
saw it.
Signed up yet, so,
I saw it in the blog.
okay.
I didn't see any email or,
turns out.
and I don't know if it's in the website either.
Take a look. Yeah, new ice climber
Oh,
weekend.
it's there.
Yes,
Okay.
they do.
Register.
Middle
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
you-
log in.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
But
kick us in the.
I can show you how to use the website. You guys don't have to do much. I can make sure I do it. Because you guys are volunteering to run it, I'm going to give you guys like edit some access.
Okay.
And then a lot of people that
What? Let's put your name.
are more advanced.
Yeah.
You can't look at it right side up.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait, you're not.
it's crooked, that's why.
Oh, because I'm with Lindsay, yes.
Right below grade.
Family memberships, make administration.
These are your
And
friends.
then,
Wait, no,
Yeah.
wrong one. Hold up.
that was a nice one from
I have friends.
Mach 6.
Yeah. No, they're actually not even my friends, they're Simon's friends.
It was just a dark scenario, like, yeah, right.
Oh, we met there.
Oh, does the system send an email when we have to pay the?
Yes, when your thing has expired, it says right now, but it says it doesn't expire
Yeah, about my, no, it was really nice, it was really nice,
Okay, so I have to put administrator.
It's like everything. Here's some medals, and then you just
Couple of us were new, I go to my next friend, they're always looking like,
You know, on that Thursday morning.
so, yeah.
So
Bill,
over the course.
You didn't have to stay up for
So you're finding people.
Yeah,
You're missing,
They were there.
there's two short ones and one long
So
one.
I thought he had snack potato.
There's two
oh, I
spaces.
know.
had to use two short ones for the mono. So for the dual, and then one short, one long for the mono.
And there wasn't
Okay, I can only add one view right now. Okay. But since you're here, I'll tell you, and then you can use your account. Okay. So when you log in normally, you'll have admin access, so you have like this little square in the corner. So you can click on admin view, and that'll let you click on events. And you click on new ice climber. And from there, Carol and I are going to set up the event with all the details, so you don't have to worry about that or registration. But like you can click here and you can see what the registration type is, and then you can see like who's registered right now. Nobody's registered. And here you can send out announcements. Since you guys are the two that are here in DC, people are probably going to ask you guys questions more, or they're like, oh, how do we get up there? Where do we meet group? So like if you want to, you can send out announcements here to be like, oh, we're big, like the event is next week, you guys. Remember to send now.
Can I have an ice axe with a blunted head or something? You know?
Turn you out to do
But yeah, but you should have this until I'll like leave you guys an admin.
Okay, welcome back. So we're going to go ahead and run through our stuff. I want to point out a suggestion was made to have an additional program element. I don't know, we're going to have to call it something that's not as lame as ask an experienced climber how to do something. That's the lame name right now.
How do I do
So
this?
since time is a little used, I'm not going to do it this time, but it's out there so that if you want to, we can take, you can send an email in to me or to Carol or to Tom, and we'll pick some topic that sounds interesting, and we'll rope somebody like Marty into telling everybody how to do it. Marty.
Use my daisy chain. Daisy chain for everything.
Okay, so provide our objective, provide the opportunity for group enjoyment of mountaineering and related activities, to train interested people in the mountaineering techniques, provide public service for specialized mountaineering techniques. Financial report, treasurer who's not here. Do you have any info for us?
I think we're in good shape unless he really is just taken off for parts undone with the credit
I
card.
guess instead of if he's actually heading for Monaco instead of the DAX.
That's
the
the problem.
but if he's
I will
really going
say
to
though,
DAX,
his card didn't work yesterday at Shoppers for the coffee for the Dax house, so he's not gonna get far.
Okay.
Well,
Members.
we have 355 total, 8 new in the last 30 days.
Okay. Woo. Past activities, Alpine Skills Weekend. Is anybody here there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was it?
Raining. Got a little sunburn.
Yeah. Okay.
Turns out that mountain is rocky.
Okay.
When half of it melts.
Did anybody get to climb in any snow at all, or was it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah. First day it was snowy.
Just past Lion's Head.
Yeah.
Right. Did you guys summit or?
Yeah, yeah.
We did summit. Yeah.
All right.
It was beautiful weather except for the rain that happened before the day before.
Okay. Yeah, I heard there was piles of rain.
But the summit
So
day,
weird.
was good. We didn't actually get to a lot of the skills
Okay.
because the first day we were rained on for a few hours, and we decided we should go in and dry out. The second day it rained some more and washed out the creek,
Okay.
and I think the third day we decided to go down and do a summit push on the last day.
Okay.
So we didn't get to many skills except self-arrest because we thought that'd be necessary to actually do a summit
Okay.
push. But
All right.
everyone got it.
Anybody here went to go to U, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Good time.
Martin, fun. Yes. Anna?
Good times.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
explored it 7 days and skied the other 3.
Okay. Good ice?
Better than last year. He was,
Yeah, it was your last year.
yeah, but better than last year.
Okay. How so? Thicker?
Remember in Frontier that, did you climb in Frontier with
Yes.
us? There was that diagonal log that was exposed. This year was totally covered in
Okay.
ice. So the ice was better this year.
Was areas like Five Fingers and Shithouse open?
We climbed the 5 Fingers. The lower section, gazebo wall, and
Gazebo wall, yeah.
shit house was not open.
That was not open. All right. That's somewhat a
And
little
then they
bit.
closed the week after you guys came home.
Last year they closed early because it was too warm.
Okay.
I checked the weather forecast this week. It's in the 50s beer again.
Oh, wow.
So it may not last much longer.
What's it been lately? Has it been freezing lately?
It's been warm.
Okay.
I mean, it gets cold again at night, but all day in the 50s, you lose a lot
Stuff's
of
gonna
ice.
start to come down. Yeah.
But no, we had a good week.
Okay.
There was about 12 of us.
Wow. Okay. Good.
How was the skiing?
It was good.
Expensive.
Expensive.
Gosh.
Yeah, the downhill was expensive.
Yeah,
They send you out to tell you, right?
Yeah.
$200.
Is that right?
But the runs went forever.
Yeah, I haven't skied either.
All right, XCOM, we had one. We mostly went to talk about calendar. I'm going to talk about calendar coming up in a moment. Actually, the vice chair is going to talk about calendar. She had her agenda handy.
Is she?
Yes, she is.
She's got her agenda handy.
Okay, upcoming events. If you have it, why don't you list them down, and either you
Well,
can
I
or
know
can say
tomorrow
something
is
about
the
it.
Dax House.
Yes, it is.
That's the start of the Dax House. So far, it's looking pretty good. We have 16 people because 2 of us had to drop out. I'll cry alone.
How are we feel? Are we still have 2 spaces
We have
left?
2
1
spaces.
space left? Or,
We have 2 spaces, and the last double bed that's empty is a hot item. So people are, Dave Cecily emailed me this morning. He's gonna have to duke it out with Marty.
Okay.
I mean, with Corey. So we'll see. And then the next event after that is New Ice Climbers, which was just announced today. So far, nobody's signed up.
Okay.
But you 2 are very nicely assisting.
And that is the last weekend in April?
That is the first weekend in March. It's essentially 2 weeks from now.
Okay, March 3,
3 and 4.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wait, the calendar. I didn't pull that up. I pulled up your agenda. Hang on.
The
I know right where it
events
is.
I pasted events into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going back to the calendar.
Okay.
Let me sure. Here we are. Here we are.
Okay.
Now it's coming.
I'll
Okay.
start.
Good.
I'll just go to the next one. The next one on the list is Whitetail Snow Skills Day. We don't have a date and won't have a date for that until the last minute. For those of you
Usually
familiar
about a
with that.
week notice.
About a week notice, week and a half notice. And actually, I'm assuming we're going to do it. I've tried to contact this guy who's been our contact for the last couple of years, and he hasn't responded, so I'm not quite sure where we're at, but we'll try again.
I have it up.
Okay. For that, the date for that is whenever they tell us it is, so we have no choice. If it is the same weekend as New Ice Climbers weekend, it's also weekend I'm gone, and I will not run that trip if it's that week. Somebody else can do it. We'll have to organize it, but I won't. If it's either weekend to either side of that, the last weekend in February or the second weekend in March, I'll do it.
Is it being organized in the meantime? Or?
Excuse me?
Is it being organized in the meantime?
Well,
We can't organize it.
we're trying. The part we have to organize is getting Whitetail to agree we can do it.
Exactly.
And telling us what date.
When?
Yes. And they decide when they decide. Last year, it was either the first or second weekend in March. Usually either the first or second weekend in March.
Last year was supposed to be the second weekend, and then 3 days before the first weekend.
That's
they
right.
made
It
the call.
flipped. Right. It flipped because
we
they
had
were
like
melting.
3 days in this.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was still really well attended, wasn't it?
Yes.
I couldn't go.
So anyway, those of you interested, just keep that in mind. And if there's somebody else who wants to take the lead on that, because we need some people who can instruct at that. Instruct in basics, from everything from putting on crampons to digging anchors to pounding snow pickets, self-arrest, all that stuff. And we'll need ice axes and pickets when we go. I don't know if you guys are going to go after that this year, but it depends on the date, I assume.
If it's the first weekend in March, we can.
Right.
Do you know roughly when it's going to be? Because a lot of people have checked out gear for like late February or early March at this point.
It's usually it's usually the first or second weekend in March. And I understand if it's the first, things are going to be messed up.
It's going to be dubious either way. A lot of people just have it around that time.
Right.
So we'll
Are the pickets checked out?
Pickets are all fine, and there should be plenty of like PLAs available. But like as far as like the boots and crampons and tools,
Okay.
that's gonna be a bit of a
Okay. So we need PLAs and pickets for
yeah,
sure.
Those will be available for sure. I'm almost certain.
Boots and other stuff, it's kind of,
Okay.
it depends. I mean, we always put crampons on, but on the other hand, most of the time you go out there, it's kind of silly. Like, why am I wearing crampons other than to demonstrate the fact that I can wear crampons? It's-
Definitely don't need double.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Very handy at
I'd say-
Whitetail.
Yeah.
So pickets and PLAs is probably
Okay. Okay, the next thing I have for fixed, you want to go next thing on
Sure.
the list?
Spring Trail Work Weekend is tentatively March 29th. That was posted
Right.
A couple of days ago.
Okay.
And so that is a really important time that the club gets back to Seneca. And I think there was a big block that fell from traffic jam over the winter. And
Okay.
so that might be the work is moving.
March 29th.
March 29th.
31.
Clearing of
31.
moving trail.
31.
Oh, yeah,
29th
sorry,
is
March
Thursday.
31.
March 31. I'm going out March 29th just because I'm a giver.
Okay.
And
So
I'm
you'll be in the area for
Two
it.
more days, yeah, I'll clear it and
Has anybody seen
Sure.
the ball?
then, a bunch of people.
Do they know whether they're gonna move the trail or move the rock?
I don't think a decision's been made. Uh, Shred anchors?
Top rope.
Top rope anchors. Is
So
that a
there's-
Marty seminar?
Or an ARIS. It's usually so, we don't have anybody fixed for that, but
Oh,
there's usually a
I know someone.
seminar to do top rope anchors before the Carter Rock season starts.
Right.
Or around the time the Carter Rock season starts.
So we need somebody to
Yeah, I
volunteer to
think
teach that.
last year was ARIS, I'm sure Marty would do it. or could
I'm
do it.
available to help you.
Okay, great. Carter Rock First Wednesday is the first Wednesday after the time shift, although a lot of times it's really
But-
too cold.
This one will be for April.
Okay,
This
So-
weather is not gonna
So remember, the first Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month. And that's the
Oh, right,
ones
right.
where we welcome new people and have seminars. And our thought was we'd do it starting in April. Technically, daylight savings time shifts in the middle of March, but it didn't seem like that was really.
are we going to go out and, I think they did last
In
year.
March?
It was warm.
If anybody wants to, yeah, the weather's decent, sure.
Well, we do it.
Jim to Crag is the 7th of April now, and I don't know who's doing it.
Matt,
Maddie.
Maddie. I'll be there too.
you know, you guys are gonna do it?
Safe Harbor looks like
Oh,
the
good.
best place to go.
Okay.
New Followers Weekend is the 22nd of April.
We do not have a date for that yet. I have,
Nobody's taken that one out.
excuse me,
Said 22nd.
if there's no question mark by it?
There is a
Everything's got a
question mark by
question.
everything.
Okay, well, it says it's not confirmed. So I was just putting, I just
Sometime
wanted to
around
get
The
that.
end of April.
Edwin has run it, okay, I have contacted him, but I haven't gotten a commitment to say, yeah, I'll do it. But we're gonna need somebody to run New Followers Weekend, and we should start organizing it within the next couple of weeks.
And I assume it's somebody that needs to lead.
Yes, because we need to, first of all, we need
Follow
the process for the New Follower Weekend process is when you have somebody who's gonna lead it, they should solicit the group for leaders, for rope team leaders. You count how many you get. You, preferably the person who runs that trip should know people well enough that when somebody says, yeah, sure, I'll lead some of you guys, you can decide whether or not that's actually a good idea.
How many leaders do we need?
Typically, we need as many as we can get. Normally, we've been limited in the number of people we can take, not by how many people want to go, but by how many leaders we have. And when we have a leader count, then we announce the date, we announce the event, and we take signups. And then we do the assignments, and again, depending on the leader, some will only want to take one person, some will take two. And we get the campsite and roll from that. But it should be we should schedule for April, and hopefully it'll actually run this year. See, I know you guys are chuckling at last year's, ridiculous
Rained
fiasco.
out,
of
rained
rain.
out.
Rain.
Schedule it your own damn selves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo, always a fun time. That's in Seneca. There's usually a fundraiser with margaritas. The AAC does, the combined AAC heads, I guess. Are they still both heads?
I haven't heard either one assaulted the other one yet.
Okay.
So.
So far, two AAC reps out there. And that's a very fun day of climbing. That's the opening of the season, if you will, although people will climb out there in March or tomorrow when it's 70. And we'll camp. We will have a campsite, so that will be open. Carteret first Wednesday, number 2 is
2 May.
I'm gonna say yes. New Climber Day. It's possibly could be 20th of May. Normally, Eris runs. Does Eris run?
He runs family.
Yes.
Oh, right, he runs family.
Last year that was Bill Kessinger.
Bill, right.
This is an important one to get organized because we need a lot of people that day. If we get a lot of people, if we get a lot of new climbers showing up, we need a lot of people to belay, and we need lots of gear.
And people checking out gear.
And well, we have to check it out to them
Table.
and actually show them how to put the harness on. And,
All of
the
that.
whole shebang. So
Hold their hands the whole way.
yes.
Do you want me to do that?
To run it or to check with
To
Bill?
run it.
Check with Bill first, and then
Okay.
I'm just saying if we can get him to do it.
Oh,
great.
yes. Yes. Memorial Day is gonna be at the New this year. And we will rent a campsite. Have we decided AAC or across the road? I don't think it's been decided or rented yet, but
I don't think it's been done yet, but I thought we tentatively decided to do it across
the road, near the burrito place.
near the burrito place.
That was very important in the
That's
conversation.
very important to some
You
people.
can walk to the burrito place from the campsites across the road from the AAC. The club expedition, the trip this summer, looks like it's going to be in the Cascades. That's at least what it sounds like we're pushing towards, and it will be an
Yes.
alpine experience.
Yes.
And my skill levels required.
Maybe we'll skip our trip to Mount Baker.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
we'll
that-
combine. Were you
Definitely.
planning to go to Mount Baker?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking Mount Baker would be
Oh,
an
really?
excellent
Oh,
location to do
alright.
one of these things. I mean, I think Bill had a couple other places in mind, but my thought was Mount Baker would at least be a good location for a few days because you have everything from total walk up to kind of moderate ice climbing, depending on what's melted, but what's, what the season is. There's a pretty wide variety all on the one mountain.
And no hassles with substitutes.
There's no snow though? It is glaciated. I mean, it's not going to completely melt out, but I mean, certainly it could get thin.
And there's no date yet for that,
Right.
but I think we're looking at August. Was that what we were?
I think
So-
we should do some serious organizing on that at a club meeting in another month or
And
two.
the next XCOM meeting maybe?
Yeah, and we're going to need to organize, because we need to get a count, because however many people are going to go, we're going to get a group together, and that's going to be one that's actually going to require a fair amount of everybody acting jointly rather than just, we'll share a
Going
house.
off.
We're gonna
Yeah,
show
we'll
up at
share a
this
house and
place.
do whatever.
Right.
Right. Good. Plans in response to the club survey? I don't actually.
So these are just sort of some carryovers. I just was going to track it. First, we are going to continue to do first Wednesday at Carter Rock like we did last year. There was a sense from the people who did it that doing it every month was kind of much. That attendance had fell way off and that there weren't that many people who wanted to really do it. So there was the idea that we would officially do it for a couple of months and then maybe hiatus it until the fall. So we decided we would schedule it for April and May for sure, and so we'd like to get plenty of participation in April and May. So there's seminars to be taught and people to be guided around and people to be introduced. And I will also note that one of the requests from before was we had a lot of interest in the survey in more one-day trips. That is, they're looking for somewhat more organized things than, let's just show up at Sugarloaf. So I don't really think it has to be a lot more than that, but the idea is look at the weather, figure out a couple days in advance that, oh, this Sunday would be a good day to go to Great Falls or Sugarloaf or wherever. Put it on the list and more deliberately say, yes, we're going to go to Great Falls and we're going to go to Cathedrals, Egg Box, wherever, and try to actually have a meet and let people go over there. Great Falls, Sugarloaf, the usual one-day kind of spots. Which reminds me, has anybody been to Indian Graves lately? Anybody have any issues going there? Yeah, I don't think anybody here is likely to have gone with me. So I was going to try to go another week or
Does it
two.
involve bushwhacking more? Yes.
This time of year, it shouldn't
Yes.
be too bad. It's not as bad as old.
See through bushwhack.
It's not as bad as old.
Like I was just gonna say, old rag is all brambles. Where is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. So it is a the way you basically what you do is you go to Luray. You turn north from Luray and drive along the river on fairly small roads, and you drive way farther than you think you could possibly go. And when you think you're pretty much in the middle of nowhere, speaking of middle of nowhere,
Keep going.
you keep going. Eventually, there's a parking lot, and then you can find this trail, and the.
So there's a reason none of us have gone there.
It's a
Sounds like
it's a one-pitch cliff, a one-pitch high cliff, somewhat above the South Fork of the Shenandoah.
So it's on the map.
Pretty.
It's not really on
Yeah.
anything.
Is it
It's off
trout?
trail a bit.
Yeah.
It's a mix of trad and sport. There's routes from 5.6 to 5.11
But you can't
plus.
top rope.
It's not easily, but there's good anchors on top of everything. So if
If
anybody
somebody
can
can
lead
lead
it,
it,
you
you
can
let
hang a
it,
rope
and you
because nothing's bigger than about 80 feet.
Okay.
There's,
How big is it to hike around to the top?
excuse me?
How big is it, how long is it to hike around to the top?
I don't know. I've never done it. I think it's just awkward. It's not like it's that far. It's just kind of awkward. Every time the one time I've been there, we just led the routes and somebody led them and hung a rope on the ones that people wanted to top with. There's mostly.
So you're leading that trip. So Mark to Indian Grave.
There's one really good trad route there called premature recalculation. And there's a couple of fairly good moderate routes and a couple of harder sport routes that I haven't done. I just think it's a good place. It's not a good. It faces kind of south. It's a cold weather location to go. It's be awful in the summer. Late fall, and you don't want to go there in the fall because it's heavy redneck deer hunting territory. But this might be
Where
a time
could
to
you go wear red? Wear your PATC shirt.
That's right.
It was submitted by Kelly, actually.
It's on Mountain Project,
It's
right?
on Mountain Project. The
Yeah.
first photo is like this horribly hand-drawn line thing.
Yeah.
It, like,
It's hilarious.
like if you use your mouse to draw something in
It's
paint,
like a cave map.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the route. Mountain Project.
How you know what you're climbing.
It's like something you doodle at work when you're bored in a meeting.
I think that's
Yeah.
what it looked like.
But it was shared by Kelly from our club, so you might know where things
Yeah,
are.
he's been there, and he I think put a route or two up there.
Yeah.
Okay, other items. Access update. I haven't seen Edwin lately, and I don't have any info on it. I don't have any issues or any plans for projects right now. There will be the usual cleanups. I assume the first weekend of June is probably a Carter Rock cleanup. I don't know if there's any more major construction that needs to be done there. I don't think we've had any really flooding this winter, so I don't know if there's any more damage likely has been.
Problem with the drought.
I haven't even been there.
Yeah.
Be a good idea to get the work
I don't
done
think
now.
there's any news on publication.
We got high water this week.
Excuse me?
We got high water this
Yeah,
week.
we do have high water. Has it been really flood high? Is it gonna?
I don't know, I'm
is
a paddle tomorrow, I'll find out.
All right. Actually, speaking of which, if guys with a boat. We had a request to actually do a club trip out to Vaso.
Vaso, Norway?
No, Vaso.
Yes, and we want you to
Yes.
paddle us.
I'm going there to paddle in the summer.
No, this is, yeah, white work.
But Vaso Island means we're gonna need some boats.
I'm sure I could,
Have you
yeah,
got-
I'm sure I could ask the Canoe Cruiser Association to assist.
Maybe
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay.
John boat we can all barge across.
Because I think,
That would be
because
awesome.
Brian's got a
Bridge
canoe, if
next
we
to
could even
Brian.
get one more canoe, we'd be in pretty good shape for taking a group across.
Yeah, I'm sure I could follow.
Okay. All right, that would, well, we can do that pretty much anytime the water's not too hot.
So where is Vaso Island?
It's immediately across from where people climb at Carter Rock.
Okay.
If you're at the cliffs on Carter Rock and you look across and you see some cliffy stuff on the island across, that's Vaso
Yeah.
Island.
That's possible.
And the best way to go out there, the best way to, as far as I know, I've only been out once, but based on what Indy and Brian have told me, and they've been out there a lot. The optimal way to do it is you park in the same lot where we parked it at Carter Rock, and then you portage your canoe north on the trail a short distance, just up to where that first little kind of retaining wall and bridge is. You cut down left to the river, you put in and you go across to the north end of Vaso Island, which is almost straight across. And there's a obvious kind of gravel sandbar that sticks out at that point. It forms a pretty good beach. So you pull up, you beach on that, pull your gear, pull your stuff up out of the water there, and then you walk on the interior of the island and find the climbs from above, because they're all around the outside edge.
Okay.
And some of them you need to lower into, and some of them you can wrap or walk.
And there's a
around
lot of
into.
good rock, just having paddled on
Yes.
along the river, there's a lot of good rock there.
There's good climbs there, and the nice thing about it is that since it's climbed on very little, it's not
Nice fresh.
polished.
Yeah, it's gonna be-
It's
yeah, it's
fresh,
not gonna be
sharp,
like
with
Carter
good
Rock.
friction. It's not like the rest of Carter Rock. It's really nice. So yeah, we got to think about when, if you want to
May?
start looking into doing that, that would be really great. And we want to do it when the water level is relatively low. It doesn't have to be super
Yeah,
low.
so I think you're talking July, late June, July.
It's so
August.
hot then though.
That's
Is
when
it
you want to
hot
be in a
over
boat.
there? What?
That's when you want to be in a boat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of.
Yes, it's the
It is
climate
kind of
part.
west, it's kind of, a lot of that rock is west facing.
Yeah, it's west facing, so we could do it
Go
on
there
the
in the
weekend, go in
morning.
the morning. Yeah,
Right.
it's a morning.
I mean, it's high this week, but it will come down
Alright.
in the spring.
If you let me know if you can ask about the canoes and let me know, just so that we know what kind of timeline we would need to plan something to do it. Because I think it'd be fun. I've been out there, and it's such a nice experience compared to the rest of Carter Rock, because the rock quality, it's quiet, it's uncrowded, it's pretty, and the rock quality, well, except for the stuff that breaks, but I mean, at least it's high friction.
Yeah.
And it's actually a fair number of bolted anchors out there. Somebody's been out there knocking anchor bolts into the top of things.
Oh,
I don't know who.
In history, we've climbed out there on a regular basis.
Oh yeah, I know historically it's been a club hangout, but nobody's been over there, at least as an organized trip, for a long time. I think last September was the first time there was any organized trip there by us in years.
Well, I haven't been out there for 10 years.
Yeah,
Technically, any of those bolts are illegal, right?
probably.
National Park.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we actually had a ranger helping us put in some. With my plan.
Okay. Gearmeister,
Yes.
what's up?
Everything's pretty much come back for Alpine Skills, only to go out again for ice climbing events.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think everything's accounted for right now.
All right.
Yeah, like I said before, it's pretty much the crampons and ice tools and boots and whatnot will be probably more or less occupied for the next couple of weeks. But as far as the PLAs and the snow anchors are concerned, that should all be available for the whitetail day.
Yeah.
Yes. Nothing else to report.
Has anyone signed up to take top rope setups out Carter Rock, like committed to be at Carter Rock on Wednesdays? I know it's a bit ahead, but.
2 of them were never returned from last season.
So they're committed.
I did a check like a couple months back. I have emails from people. I can't remember who still has them, but I think like Peter has one.
Peter Johnson?
Peter Parker.
Oh, Peter
Oh,
Parker.
yeah. Really?
That makes sense, he goes all the time.
Yeah, and one other one is still checked out. And then we have 2 in there. I think before we start the season again, I'm going to finally cut the our rope to
The spool,
Carter Rock.
yeah.
The spool to Carter Rock
Right.
lines. I think it should make two kits. But yeah, I guess we probably have another month or so before that needs to be done.
Okay. All right. How are we doing as far as, you know, is the gear count worked out this, you know, were we had shortage issues? Are we pretty well covered? How are we
I
doing?
think I had all gear accounted for in my first year as Meister, so nothing has been lost or destroyed.
Oh, well, not that. That's because I was saying. No, what I was asking was, has stuff has been checked out?
Stuff has been
Have,
checked out.
have we had any issues, like, you know, people want stuff and it's all gone, or, you know, we're short on things or long on things, or?
No, I mean, there's probably like, I need to look at the boots again. There's maybe like one size you might want to pick up, but like at this point, we're getting to the end of the season, so maybe by next year it'll be good.
Okay.
Season sales.
We have had like the pair that we bought last year has been checked out multiple times, and we have it's a popular size, so
Okay.
that was a good purchase.
All right.
The tents got used for alpine skills. None of the tents have been checked out this year, other than that though.
Okay.
So yeah, it has been full enough for people to plan any big trips, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall we seem to have everything pretty well covered.
Okay.
Except those really old ice axes.
Yeah, I mean,
Another
another peel layer too at some point might be worth investing, because we have the 80-centimeter one, which is way too long for almost anybody's purposes. Blue one's ridiculously heavy, and then we have the weird ski pole one.
Which is broken. I think it had duct tape on it.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Wait, was it at the top?
Yeah, yeah.
That was just so it wasn't cutting into her hand.
Oh,
'cause it has a
okay,
sharp
alright.
part on the top. Yes.
Well, but the whole thing is not ideal.
Yeah, it's still not ideal.
It's not broken, it's just
different kind of
bad.
bad.
So
It
that
was
might be
just
something
a
to consider.
modification.
He's getting a couple extra PLAs and more of a mid-range size. But yeah,
Everybody who
I
checks that blue one out should appreciate its use for cutting steps.
don't think the people who check that one out generally want to cut steps. I think if you're cutting steps, you probably have your own peel.
Training chair.
Since you're cutting back on first Wednesdays for Colorado, what are we gonna do about those mini clinics that we've been teaching?
Well, I don't necessarily think we should cut. We should keep doing them if they're popular. I think we
We
should
wanna keep them
concentrate
in-
on doing April and May and see how we get, and probably go into June. The discussion we had with Doug was simply that he thought that absent greater commitment, not on your part, but on the part of other people to be greeters and belayers and paper handlers, that we shouldn't be advertising it all through the summer because participation fell way off.
Participation by helpers, not
By helpers,
participants.
yes.
Correct, right,
Mhm.
not by participants.
The other thing is that the suggestion also was that we ought to do some kind of quick discussion at the meeting, probably next month. I guess I would call it Carter Rock Manners and Etiquette.
Introducing yourself as, hi, I'm known as asshole.
As I discovered, one of the hidden responsibilities of the PATC MS chair is to receive all the complaints from people at Carter Rock about who's being a jerk at Carter Rock. And
Setting
whether or not the
stupid
said
anchors.
jerk had anything to do with us or not, doesn't matter. It still seems somehow I'm on the fun list to get the call.
We're a presence at Carter Rock. We have to accept that.
Do we have anything on women's events or
Not
women's
yet.
event coordinator?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
I will speak to Lydia and Edith and see if they want to spearhead anything, plus we have other women's.
I think Jade's interested in helping out with stuff now that she doesn't have to do treasury stuff.
Me too, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any new business? Then I think we're adjourned.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank